Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I always say, whenever I stand on a stage like this, I am not here to show you how smart I am, because if you ask my teachers, they will tell you I was never the smartest student in the classroom. I am here because I believe stories have power. And my story, if nothing else, proves that even ordinary people who look completely unsuitable for success can sometimes end up surprising the world. Now, I hope you are all feeling inspired this morning. If you are not, don't worry. By the time I finish this talk, one of two things will happen. Either you'll be inspired, or you'll be laughing so hard that you'll forget you were supposed to be inspired in the first place. Both are fine with me, because life is already serious enough. Sometimes we need humor to keep walking through tough times. People often look at me today and think, wow, Jack Ma, billionaire, founder of Alibaba, one of the largest e-commerce companies in the world. He must have been born with success in his blood. But let me tell you the truth. When I was born, the doctor looked at me and said, this one? Maybe not businessman, maybe comedian. And indeed, my early life did not look like the beginning of a billionaire story. After graduating from university, I applied for 30 different jobs. I was rejected from all of them, even KFC. 24 people applied, 23 got hired. Guess who didn't? Me. I was the only one they thought wasn't good enough to fry chicken. Imagine that. Even the chickens didn't want me. So today, when people call me a successful entrepreneur, I just laugh. Because behind the success are years of rejection, misunderstanding, and struggle. And that is why I want to tell you the story of how Alibaba got its name, and why that story is not just about a company, but about a dream, about vision, about persistence, and yes, about humor. Many years ago, when I first had the crazy idea of building an internet company in China, people laughed at me. At that time in China, most people didn't even know what the internet was. The joke was, Jack is trying to sell air. So I needed a name for my company, a name that would be simple, easy to remember, and that people all over the world could pronounce. Now, one thing you must know about me is I love stories. As a teacher of English, I grew up loving books, poems, and folktales. And one of the stories that always stayed with me was Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. You remember that story, right? The poor woodcutter Alibaba, who discovered the magic words, open sesame. He used those words to enter a cave full of treasures. I thought to myself, this is perfect. Alibaba is a kind, smart person who brings opportunities. And with just 2 words, open sesame, he can open doors of possibility and treasure. That's exactly what I want my company to be. A place that opens sesame for small businesses all over the world. So one day I went to a coffee shop in San Francisco. I asked the waitress, do you know Alibaba? She said, yes, open sesame. Then I walked outside and asked 10, 20 more people. People from India, Germany, Japan, the Middle East, America. Everyone knew Alibaba. Everyone knew open sesame. At that moment I thought, this is it. This is the name. That's how Alibaba was born, not from some expensive branding consultant, not from a marketing guru, but from a coffee shop conversation and a fairy tale that belongs to the world. But the story doesn't stop there. For me, Alibaba was never just about business. When I chose the name, I thought of the millions of small and medium-sized businesses, especially in developing countries, who had no way to show their products to the world. In the story, Alibaba was not rich, not powerful, but he was smart, persistent, and he found a way to enter the cave of treasures. I wanted Alibaba, the company, to be the key, the open sesame, for millions of small businesses to open the door to global trade. Because let's be honest, the world is not fair. Big companies always have the advantage. Money, power, connections. Sam now, let me tell you, having a good name is one thing. Building the company is another. The early days of Alibaba were, how do I say this politely, a total disaster. We had no money, no technology, no experience. The only thing we had was a group of crazy people who believed in the internet and believed in each other. We started in my apartment in Hangzhou. 18 people cramped together, sharing one dream. We didn't even have air conditioning. In summer, we sweated so much that the computers almost drowned. Audience laughter. But we had something more important than money. We had passion, we had a vision, and we had a sense of humor. because when you're poor and nobody believes in you, you can cry or you can laugh. I chose to laugh. All businesses, they struggle. But with the internet, with e-commerce, with technology, I believed we could make the world more fair, more open, more connected. So the name Alibaba was a promise to entrepreneurs around the world that we would open the sesame door of opportunity for them. Now let me tell you, having a good name is one thing, building the company is another. The early days of Alibaba were, how do I say this politely, a total disaster. We had no money, no technology, no experience. The only thing we had was a group of crazy people who believed in the internet and believed in each other. We started in my apartment in Hangzhou. 18 people cramped together sharing one dream. We didn't even have air conditioning. In summer, we sweated so much that the computers almost drowned. Audience laughter. But we had something more important than money. We had passion, we had a vision, and we had a sense of humor. Because when you're poor and nobody believes in you, you can cry or you can laugh. I chose to laugh. In 1995, when I first discovered the internet, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep for days. To me, it felt like I had seen the future with my own eyes. I rushed back home to China and tried to explain it to my friends, my colleagues, even my students. But the more passionately I explained, the more they looked at me like I had gone completely crazy. I told them the internet is like a highway. One day, everything business, education, entertainment, communication will run on this highway. They frowned and asked, "Highway? But Jack, where are the cars? We don't see anything moving on it." I smiled and said, "The cars will come. Today the road is empty, but one day it will be full of traffic." They laughed so hard. One friend slapped my shoulder and said, "Jack, you have been watching too many American movies. Stop dreaming." Another said, "China doesn't even have enough telephones, and you are talking about the internet?" At that time, they thought I was completely out of touch with reality. Even my parents worried. My mother whispered, "Son, are you sure you're not losing your mind? Maybe you should stick to teaching English." Convincing people about the internet back then was harder than convincing my wife that I was handsome. At least with my wife, I only needed one person to believe me. But with the internet, I had to persuade an entire nation. Still, deep inside, I told myself, if nobody believes today, one day they will. The highway is real, and the cars will surely come. That belief, that stubborn faith in the invisible future, was the seed that later grew into Alibaba. And this is an important lesson for all of you. If you want to succeed in business or in life, you need vision. Not today's vision, but tomorrow's vision. If everyone already believes in your idea, you are too late. The best ideas look crazy in the beginning. Think about Alibaba in the story. He wasn't rich, he didn't have 40 servants, but he had courage, imagination, and the wisdom to use two simple words, open sesame. In the same way, we had no money, no connections, but we had the courage to believe in the internet and the wisdom to focus on small businesses. That was our open sesame. Now, let me be honest with you. Failure is part of the story. Many people only see the success of Alibaba today, but they don't see the failures behind it. We failed to raise money many times. We failed to convince big companies to partner with us. I personally failed in school many times. But here's the secret. Every failure is a gift. It teaches you something. When KFC rejected me, I learned that maybe I wasn't good at frying chicken. When Harvard rejected me 10 times, I learned that maybe Harvard was not good enough for me. Audience laughter and applause. So don't be afraid of failure. Failure is your best teacher. I remember in the early days when I tried to meet investors in Silicon Valley, I gave a passionate speech about Alibaba. At the end, one investor said, "Jack, your English is good, but your business idea, too bad." Another said, "Jack, this will never work in China. Chinese people don't trust each other, and they definitely don't trust the internet." I smiled and said, "Well, if Chinese people don't trust each other, that's why we need Alibaba." They laughed at me. But many years later, the same people called me and said, "Jack, can we invest now?" I told them, "Sorry, you are too late. The cave is already open, and the treasure is gone." Another lesson I learned is this. The most valuable treasure is not money, not technology, but people. When I built Alibaba, I didn't look for the smartest people. I looked for the people with passion, with dreams, with teamwork. Because in business, you can never do it alone. Even Alibaba needed the magic words, the cave, and a little luck. So if you want to build something great, find people who believe in the same dream. People who can laugh with you in hard times and celebrate with you in good times. So my friends, The story of Alibaba is not just about a name. It's about believing in the impossible, about opening doors for others, and about never giving up even when the world laughs at you. When you hear Alibaba, I don't want you to think only of a company. I want you to think of courage, of vision, of opportunity. Remember this, everybody has their own open sesame, the key that can open the door to their dreams. For me, it was the internet. For you, it may be something else. Don't wait for someone else to say the words for you. Say them yourself. Open the door, enter the cave, find your treasure. And when you succeed, don't keep it for yourself. Share it with the world. That's the true spirit of Alibaba. Thank you.